Hello everybody, so as you have probably already heard, the eviction moratorium, which has been in place for the last 16 months, has just expired. And the obvious question to ask now is, does this mean that this parabolic run-up in real estate prices is finally over and beginning to correct? So before I get to answering this question, I'll just read an article from Reuters which should help you just to get some of the statistics in your mind regarding how significant of a problem this could be. And this article was just published yesterday, which was the end of July, which was when this eviction moratorium ended. A pandemic-related U.S. government ban on residential evictions expired at midnight on Saturday, putting millions of American renters at risk of being forced from their homes. The expiration was a blow to President Joe Biden, who on Thursday made a last-ditch request to Congress to extend the moratorium, citing the raging Delta variant. On Friday, the U.S. House of Representatives adjourned without reviewing the tenant protections after a Republican congressman blocked a bid to extend it by unanimous consent until October 18th. Democratic leaders said that they lacked sufficient support to put their proposal to a formal vote. The U.S. Senate held a rare Saturday session but did not address the eviction ban. The White House had made it clear it would unilaterally extend the protections, arguing it does not have legal authority to do so following a Supreme Court ruling in June. And watch this, more than 15 million people in 6.5 million U.S. households are currently behind on rental payments, according to a study by the Aspen Institute and the COVID-19 Eviction Defense Project, collectively owing more than $20 billion to landlords. Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren on Saturday said that every state in this country, families are sitting around their kitchen table right now trying to figure out how to survive a devastating, disruptive, and unnecessary eviction. Democratic Representative Cori Bush and others spent Friday night outside the U.S. Capitol. She asked how parents could go to work and take care of children if they are evicted. We cannot put people on the street in a deadly global pandemic, Bush said on Saturday. Landlord groups opposed the moratorium, and some landlords have struggled to keep up with mortgage, tax, and insurance payments on properties without rental income. That should be pretty obvious right there. An eviction moratorium has largely been in place under various measures since late March 2020. The ban by the U.S. CDC went into effect in September 2020 to combat the spread of COVID-19 and prevent homelessness during the pandemic. It has been extended multiple times, most recently through Saturday. The CDC said in June it would not issue further extensions. A CDC spokeswoman confirmed that the moratorium had expired but declined to comment further. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, in explaining the need to extend the eviction ban, noted that out of the $46.5 billion in rental relief previously approved by Congress, only $3 billion has been distributed to renters. Late Saturday, Pelosi said lawmakers were demanding the $46.5 billion provided by Congress be distributed expeditiously to renters and landlords. Some Democratic lawmakers early Sunday were rallying outside the Capitol to call for the ban's reinstatement. And then some states like California and New York have chosen to extend eviction moratoriums beyond July 31st. Federal agencies that finance rental housing on Friday urged owners of those properties to take advantage of assistance programs and avoid evicting tenants. So my thoughts on this are as follows. Number one, I think this just shows how the government getting involved in something almost always snowballs into something much worse and much larger than the problem initially was. You know, what started out as a temporary ban on evictions, and I could see that being justified just given the uncertainty of the pandemic when it was first beginning, but you know, now it has been over a year of some people not paying any rent, which means that these landlords who actually own these condos or houses or whatever they are, they have had to foot the bill on any of these outstanding mortgages. Also, what does this mean to the people who have been paying rent? You know, all of a sudden, say a landlord who owns 10 properties and one of them isn't paying their monthly rent. You know, what is this landlord likely going to do in order to cover this fall in monthly revenue. They're likely going to raise prices on the other 9 tenants who are being decent people and who are paying their rent even though they don't entirely have to. So my first observation on this is that this just goes to show how the answer to a problem is rarely, if ever, helped by the government getting involved. In fact, in this situation, it has been made a lot worse, where now you have tens of billions of dollars in unpaid rent, and for some of these tenants, they likely could not get up to date on all of their unpaid rent. I don't know how many of them that would be. This article did not mention that, but people have been allowed to get so far behind that a lot of them probably couldn't get up to date even if they had to. Number two, my thoughts on this is I'm skeptical that this eviction moratorium is allowed to go on unchallenged. As this article already states, there are many Democratic congressmen and congresswomen who are already challenging this when this has only just expired yesterday, just a few hours ago. So imagine how much pressure they will face a week or two from now when potentially millions of renters are facing eviction. And as we can all see from this article I just read, a few billion here or there is peanuts for Uncle Sam right now. For stimulus, we've been talking multiple trillions in the last 16 months. So the government, in other words, the taxpayer, footing this bill doesn't sound out of the question to me. And in fact, this is what I do expect to happen. The government isn't just going to let this disaster happen with potentially several million people being evicted and potentially ending up homeless. They're probably either going to extend this eviction moratorium or simply foot the bill, as they kind of alluded to near the end there, of just encouraging these landlords to take advantage of these programs. And this, in my mind, adds to the already skyrocketing national deficit, which it seems like everyone has ceased to be concerned about. And anyway, my third thought on this is I don't think this ends up ending the ballooning housing prices that we've seen, for the above reason of the government likely getting involved and footing the bill or extending the eviction moratorium, as has already been done in California and New York. I expect other blue states to likely follow that. I just don't expect this to be the catalyst which ends this dramatic increase in housing prices that we've seen across the nation. However disappointing that might be to some of you, or otherwise, I just don't see that happening. However, this could contribute to a pause or a temporary decrease in housing prices in the next few weeks until the government does step in. And my fourth thought on this is, even though I do not see housing prices correcting yet, I do not think it can go on much longer, and it certainly cannot go on indefinitely, but my time frame for when they could correct is at some point in the not too distant future, anywhere from 3 to 6 months from now. I do expect the Fed to be forced to tighten due to much higher than expected inflation. We've already been seeing inflation just running completely out of control, or much higher than expected, but I do expect it to go much hotter in the next 3 to 6 months. But anyway, I do expect that to eventually force the Fed's hand to tighten, and this is what I expect to ultimately be the trigger for decreasing housing prices and obviously asset prices pretty much across the board. So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I just wanted to make it. It's a very touchy subject for some. I don't personally have any sort of vested interest in real estate. I'm not invested in real estate, at least yet, but I just wanted to get this out there to let you guys know my thoughts on this. And if you like to hear content like this, which broadly speaking, this channel just talks about investing and the markets, and most of all looking at the fundamentals and facts behind a subject or a stock or whatever before making a statement. I really like to ignore the overall sentiment and go. I usually end up going against the crowd just based on that. So that is why I call this channel The Contrarian. If you want to hear more, just consider subscribing, and I hope to see you again.